Welcome into East Coast Bias. I'm Brian Barrett, filling in for JJ with Raheem and House. And man, a shocking night in the NBA on Monday as the Celtics go down to the New York Knicks. They're down 3-1, and we also got the Warriors going down 3-1 to the Wolves. Maybe not so shocking there. We also got some other shocking things to get into, including the draft lottery and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But we'll start with the Celtics, of course, as they were the heavy favorite going into this game against the Knicks. They end up going down, and obviously now going forward. The story is Jason Tatum, as he went down with what appeared to be a serious injury in that game. And now you look up and you look at the New York Knicks, and they are now the second shortest odds to win the NBA championship, Raheem. The OKC Thunder minus 105, the Knicks at plus 500 to win the NBA championship after nobody gave this team, Raheem, a chance prior to this series. And I will say this, as the resident Celtics fan, they were going to beat the Celtics prior to the Tatum injury. They were already up 7, but Knicks plus 500, I'm not touching that. I'd be more interested in
and got a turnover, which would have been 9. That game was over.
Yep, that game was certainly over, but you putting any stock now into the Knicks going forward? I mean, I would, if I was picking an Eastern Conference team, I'd rather go the Pacers plus 950, but I don't know how to doubt the Knicks at this point, because this is now 3 times games you thought they were going to lose, they end up winning.
I feel like they've probably deserved to win like 2 games this entire postseason. Like, at this point in time, it's like I feel like I'm watching a miracle on ice. So, I mean, from that standpoint, I guess it's tough to, count out the Knicks, but I think the Pacers are the better team. And I think pretty much everyone else in the postseason, except for the Warriors, are better than this team. So I just don't know what to make of them, honestly.
Dream, I feel like we're fighting something here, and we've had the hard time trying to get the pulse of this Knicks team. Why can't we just accept that 1 through 5, they might be the best team in the East? Now, if the Celtics had Porzingis, and Porzingis, didn't have whatever ailment he has that's basically crippled him since March, then you can make a good case for Boston. But the Knicks 1 through 5 in the East, it's the best 1 through 5. The problem is they only have 6 players. I mean, they had to give Miles McBride 20 minutes tonight just to give some of the starters a breather. Mitchell Robinson back playing, getting 25 minutes for him. But top to bottom, this Knicks team, it's exactly the blueprint that they dialed up in the offseason when they acquired Bridges to go along with Towns. And they're versatile. They can play defense. We finally got a Brunson game tonight. Are we fighting it, Dream? I mean, I'm ready to go with the Knicks here.
Maybe we are fighting it. I'm really struggling with the fact that, I mean, this team is really just carried by Brunson, but I mean, tonight was shocking to me because we finally got a Mikal Bridges game. We finally got a Karl Anthony Towns game. Like, the entire starting lineup minus Josh Hart showed up. And, to me, this is one of the few games in the postseason where you got an equal opportunity effort from everybody in the starting lineup. And I think this is a Knicks team that's scary to me because, I'm watching the second half and I'm like, this Boston team has held this Knicks team down offensively the entire series, and now they can't get stops. And, Tatum was having a monster game. It just felt like, every time down the court, the Knicks were scoring.
Yeah, the way I look at it, and you referenced the Bridges game, I give a lot of credit to Joe Mazzulla for that because for some inexplicable reason, they decided to continue to go double big. So you look at the second half, the Knicks hit 25 two-pointers. 25 two-pointers, and a lot of those are Kristaps Porzingis in drop coverage, and Bridges is just walking into open jump shots. And House, you mentioned the best 5 with the Knicks. You probably got a pretty convincing argument on that. But I have to imagine, and I know Mazzulla beat Carlisle last year, that Carlisle is going to coach a better series than the series that Joe Mazzulla is coaching. And I actually think the depth of Indiana will certainly help them in this series. So I'd be looking more so to the Indiana side, like, if anything, for the value. Halliburton is plus 490 to win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And I know there's a lot of games where he may not put up gaudy scoring numbers, but in a series, 3 or 4 games, he's going for 20 plus. And 3 or 4 games, he's probably going for 10 plus assists. Right now, the Knicks plus 115 to come out of the East. The Pacers are plus 210. But I would lean, if anything, towards that Halliburton at plus 490. And I trust, and I know Rick Carlisle loses some really close games that make me think in the back of my head, maybe I shouldn't trust him more than Tibbs. I think back to there's games last year against the Celtics he should have won. Like they should have fouled Jaylen Brown at the end of the fourth quarter in game 1 where Jaylen got up that 3 that sent that into overtime. But I think Indiana's really got something going here, and that would be my pick, is Halliburton plus 490 to win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
BB, it's a very rational argument. I really don't have a good rebuttal for it, but you really hit the nail on the head with the distrust that I feel still in my soul and my heart with the way that the Pacers invented losses against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I'm not over it yet. I'll get over it. I'll probably lose money along the way by betting on this Knicks team against the Pacers. But I feel like especially maybe this is just the recency bias of the evening where it feels like the league has played a heavy hand in some outcomes. I'm looking at this Knicks team and I'm looking at Minnesota on the other side of the draw, and it feels like there's a story. There's a Knicks story and a Minnesota story, and they're coming together. If you go on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, those two teams matching up 13-1. I mean, that's worth a little bit. I still greatly resent not betting the 40-1 for Dallas to win the lottery tonight.
I can get down with that. I can totally get down with that, House. Because I mean, we've seen the Minnesota Timberwolves play the Oklahoma City Thunder tough, and the New York Knicks, they want some revenge for last year. I mean, it felt like they were heavy favorites in that series, and then everybody got hurt.
That's right.
So I can get down with this. I think we can make this a family play. JJ's not here. I'm sure that he's going to be interested in this as well.
He won't have any problem betting the Knicks stream. I'll tell you that much.
No doubt. Brian, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I just look at it in terms of that Knicks team. I can't trust them. And I know that maybe I'm like in a position where I look at the Celtics and I'm just thinking, like, how can my team possibly lose 3 games to that Knicks team? And I just don't want to trust that they can go all the way to the NBA Finals. So that's why I lean towards the Pacers. And another part of that is maybe I'm just scared of the Pacers because of how difficult the Celtics find to play them, even this regular season, where they could just score on the Celtics, I think maybe more efficiently than any other team in the league. But Brunson did come alive from an efficiency standpoint in this game. Towns was good. Bridges was good. OG hit some critical shots. Now, one of them, like a wide open 3 where Porzingis couldn't get out to him. But again, he hit open shots, and he had a big game earlier in the series. So maybe I'm not giving the Knicks enough credit. Now, in the Western Conference.
We can't skip ahead. This series is not over. You
don't think so?
Hear me out. I'm not saying it's not over. I'm saying it's technically not over. And if you look right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, the Boston Celtics are 5-point favorites to the Knicks in Game 5, and they're also plus 460 to win the series. And you can get them plus 1.5 games at plus 245. Are you biting on them in Game 5? Do you give your Celtics a chance to win that game? Do you give them a chance to come back and even force a Game 6 or a Game 7?
No, I would give them a chance in 2 scenarios. A, if it wasn't at home, because they've stunk at home, really, not for their standards this season, right? They've been a significantly better road team. And then if Porzingis looked anything like the Porzingis that we saw for the majority of the season, because right now he's not right. I mean, he can't hit a shot from the field. Like, he really is not effective whatsoever. And Jaylen Brown was maybe the Celtics' worst player in this game. So do I expect Jaylen, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, the Finals MVP, to go back home to the Garden and put on a show? No, I don't, because he was one of the main reasons they lost this game, other than Joe Mazzulla.
Dream, it's not a no, it's a hell no. Come on now. Let's go. Look, I understand it's a market and that the numbers that the book puts in place are based on well-developed models and so forth, but Brian just went through it. Jaylen Brown is playing on one leg, and Porzingis needs to go to the ICU and figure out what the hell's going on. I'm not. What's the basis for betting on Boston other than you set aside, the emotion of the moment. You sit down and go through the numbers and you say, this is, historically, this is the direction that this goes. The models produce these numbers, but I'm not. I mean, the Celtics stink.
So I'm not saying we should bet on it, but I feel like we have to do our due diligence to our audience to bring up the fact that, the last 3 years without Jason Tatum in the lineup, the Celtics are 20-5. This year they're 8-2. The last year they were 7-1. We just have to do our due diligence and truly ask the question: if the odds makers are setting this line at 5, what are they saying? Are you guys going to jump on the Knicks at plus 160 to win that game?
My hands up, yes sir. That's the money line play for House. I'll figure out what to parlay that with too, Brian Barrett.
Yeah, I will too, and I'll probably bet on Derek White for like 30 points because he's going to play the entirety of the game.
He's healthy. He's the guy. That's the play. Absolutely. Whatever. Give me all the Derek White props and give me the Knicks money line. The problem with the stats with Tatum out, in my humble opinion, is that they depend on a healthy Jaylen Brown or mostly healthy Jaylen. We saw it against the Heat. Jaylen Brown took over, and he had a great game. But he's been hobbled this entire playoffs. Whatever had happened to his knee, at the outset of this playoff run, has gotten increasingly worse. And he's just not. He doesn't have the bounce. He doesn't have the lift. He can't rebound the way that he does. He can't impact the game the way we grew accustomed to seeing him impact the game on the run to the MVP of the NBA Finals last year.
Yeah, if Jaylen was the Jaylen we saw last year, I would bet on the Celtics, and I'd give them a fighting chance. But it's just they get too many guys that are dealing with issues right now, and a coach that cannot get out of his own way. I mean, he played a guy 35 minutes, he had 23 points, and then he plays him 20 minutes the next game. It doesn't make any sense. All right, so in the Western Conference, not really an interesting game, as Minnesota, of course, blew, although they did try to make it close at the end because that's what the Timberwolves do. But now you look at the pregame, Anthony Edwards, and this is before Tatum got hurt too, he was plus 1,000 for the NBA Finals MVP. He is now at plus 650. Shea's at plus 100. So him and Brunson both plus 650 for the NBA Finals MVP. I kind of like the idea of the Pacers Wolves at plus 1,000, although New York would be better for business. So maybe I shouldn't really look into that one too much based on maybe something we'll get into in a second here in the NBA. But I don't see the Warriors. I don't even think Curry's going to play in Game 5, getting reevaluated on Wednesday. It just seems like that's a dangerous proposition. And so I don't really see the value I see here is Edwards Finals MVP. If you think that they can take out OKC, which I think, and we'll get into this later, I think they have a chance.
Those of you who listen to this program know I gave out Anthony Edwards about a week and a half ago at plus 25-1 to win MVP in the finals. I think the best value on the board right now is Jokic at 17-1. Because, look, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're still a young team. They do have a dominant defense. And, I mean, Jokic has struggled in this series. But if you're just looking at the board and you're just looking for pure value, I think if the Nuggets get to this series, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in that Minnesota series? Because, I mean, Minnesota, they're just beating up on a Warriors team that doesn't have Steph Curry. So I don't really know what they are. And the Lakers, they didn't have any bigs at all. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that I don't know if they've played the best competition. So if the Nuggets actually find a way to get through this series, that number's going to come down a ton. So I think from a value perspective, that's what I'll be looking at.
I love it, Brian Barrett. When Dream speaks, these MVP guys, observationally, you got to listen and go ahead and get something down, put it in the portfolio, and then look up. We're playing a best out of 3 with this Denver OKC, and we still have the best player on the planet and the team that won the championship 2 years ago. I like their odds. I mean, I'm looking at that series price. And I'm like, man, do I do Denver now? Is now the time to go ahead and bet on Denver? The series price at the moment is what? We're getting Denver at plus 460. I mean, I don't know how I can stay away from that. I understand the reasons to stay away, but there's a lot of pedigree there, and they're not going to just let Oklahoma City walk all over them. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I like that too, Raheem, because look, get this before Game 5, because of course, if they end up winning Game 5, those odds are going to go down. So get that before Game 5. And look, if it's a close game, I know the Thunder won the last close game, but Denver is really good in tight situations, and Jokic is due for a massive game based on some of his recent games in this series. All right, coming up next, a team that did a really dumb thing. It appears they got rewarded for it. We'll get to that next here on East Coast Bias. Welcome back into East Coast Bias. Brian Barrett in for JJ, House and Raheem here as usual. So, guys, I'm watching that game yesterday. Denver has the 69-63 lead, and this is after they scored 8 points in the first quarter. It felt like OKC was going to blow them out. You could argue like Denver had home court, but it felt like they were at a disadvantage because of the 8:30 start on Friday locally, then the 1:30 start on Sunday. It clearly affects the Nuggets a lot more than it affects OKC, because OKC can play 8, 9, 10 guys if they really want. Denver right now is rolling with 4.5, 5.5 guys at this particular point in time based on the shoulder situation with Michael Porter Jr. And you don't know what you're going to get as hard as Russell Westbrook has played in this series. And he had that outstanding possession on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at one point. But you just don't know what you're going to get from him from a shooting perspective. But House, the way that thing ended, where you come back, you have the review, Jokic misses 2 consecutive free throws, they score on the other end, and then you have, of course, Aaron Gordon miss 1 of 3 free throws. And during that stretch, this is a Nuggets team that just won a championship 2 years ago, one of the best late-game teams in the league. They got a 5-second violation out of a timeout. So I just feel like when you have them on the ropes, OKC on the ropes, the opportunity to go up 3-1, I feel like the series is over now, House. And I know that's crazy to say. I just don't know how Denver bounces back from that, even with the guys that they have on their team. Like Jokic at the end of the game looks so tired.
Well, I totally agree with that. That's the most important point. That really takes us into the discussion. But I just proposed to everybody, how would we have felt about this game and the series ultimately if Oklahoma City had just blown Denver out? If they just won by 30, would we still be in the same kind of mindset with Denver's fortunes? I mean, I think part of what is shaping our feelings about Denver's prospects in this is how close the game was all the way up until the fourth quarter, and then Denver ran out of gas. Oklahoma City outscored Denver 29-18 in the fourth quarter, and it honestly felt much worse than that. Denver had Oklahoma City exactly game script wise, tempo wise, where they wanted them, right there at home, and could have seized control of the series. But this all comes down to one thing: the Joker is gassed. The cumulative effect of the regular season plus this postseason, what Denver's been through, we're seeing the man wear it. He's under 40% from the field in 3 consecutive games. He has more turnovers than assists in this series. And this is what happens when you are stuck with a franchise and, limited personnel options. Only one other guy played even double-digit minutes other than the starters for the Nuggets, and that was Russell Westbrook with 27 minutes. The 5 starters all played, the fewest minutes was Porter Jr., who's playing with one shoulder, and then you had Russell Westbrook with 27 minutes, and that's it. And that's who this Nuggets team is. I mean, I've been super impressed by the heart of a champion, super impressed by their bounce-back ability, and I'm not prepared to count them out because it's still those guys. It's still their 4 championship guys' dream. But at some point, there's a price to be paid for the cumulative effect of all these high leverage games on the Joker, and we're seeing it live and in person right now.
Yeah, I definitely think we're seeing it. And, ultimately, we've spoken about the Game 7 trend. I mean, they did come out and win Game 1, but at some point, it does wear on you. And you look at this team, what are they playing? They're playing 7 guys, 8 guys. And Michael Porter Jr., you see, I mean, he's trying to gut through that shoulder injury, and it feels like he can show up sometimes, but he can't bring it consistently. I mean, he was 1 for 7 from the field in 34 minutes, 0 for 5 from 3. His shoulder, and it's like you don't want to criticize him too much because you know he's gotten through an injury. And then you have a guy in Russell Westbrook who has to play, and he's 2 or 12 from the field. So I just, it's a very, very, very tough situation for Denver right now. And like I said before, this Oklahoma City Thunder defense is the best unit on the field. I mean, they can shut you down. I mean, through the first quarter, Denver had 8 points. But at the same time, when you're watching this series, and I truly believe this in the modern NBA, offense is going to win championships in this era. And right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder shooters, they cannot shoot at all. You look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is a guy who's he has 20 potential assists a game at this point in time. When you're looking at props, we all know that props are volume plus opportunity. And if you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if you look at his assist prop, I think if you played that every game, you'd have a positive expectation. His assist prop is 6.5 right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. He has 20 potential assists. If some of these guys can just hit some open jump shots, and I think he's going to shatter this. I mean, he should be averaging, 10, 11, 12, 13 assists a game if guys could just hit open shots. And I think one of the more interesting things that we saw at the end of Game 4 is that they benched Lou Dort and put in Cason Wallace. And I think Cason Wallace can actually hit some of those open jumpers. He was 3 for 3 from behind the arc. Jalen Williams still isn't making these shots. But if, guys can knock down these shots, I think you see a blowout in Game 5. So laying it with the Oklahoma City Thunder probably isn't bad. But I just have a gut feeling that this series is going 7.
Yeah, and Jokic, getting back to Jokic real quick, I just think about what he's had to carry in this postseason. First of all, he had Zubac, who was like a fringy defensive player of the year candidate, right? And now he's dealing, for some inexplicable reason, OKC decided in Game 1 we're going to put Chet on him, which made no sense. He was just putting him into the basket. That's the one big game Jokic had, the 40-20 game. So he's shooting 39% from the floor, 21.4% from deep. And against Hartenstein in that Game 4, he's 2 of 9 from the field. So Hartenstein can give him some trouble. Also because he doesn't have a lot of shooters around him. I mean, Aaron Gordon's turned out to be an incredible shooter, but most of the time they're playing 2 guys at least that OKC is like, yeah, go ahead. You want to try to shoot against us? We can. And then with OKC, the luxury that they have is Shea, as you were alluding to, Raheem, he's 2 of 13 from 3 in this series. Jalen Williams has hit 20 points once. They got 18 points from their number 2 and number 3 options on Sunday, yet they still win the game. And you start to think about it, like the Wiggins, Wallace, Caruso trio, all in double figures. They combined for 8 threes. The starters hit 2 threes. The Nuggets got, you were mentioning the bench house, they got 3 points from Porter and 8 off their bench. So they're just not a deep enough team right now. The one thing I do have as it pertains to OKC going forward here is it does feel like they got a really nice road if they can get over this whole Denver thing. But I just wonder about Jalen Williams. We had these same questions about him last year in the playoffs. Can he be that viable number 2 option, right? We've seen these games where Shea hasn't had the same scoring output. I know he hasn't been as efficient. I think a lot of that, though, has to do with he is making the right play. Raheem mentioned the potential assists. They're just missing shots. And Raheem, I know you said you don't trust Minnesota. Is it worth a plus 270 Minnesota to win the West, considering we know Ant's not going to be afraid of the moment, right? Julius Randle, and look, the Thunder have more guys to throw at him than the Warriors do. But, I mean, that Minnesota team, they could put a fear into OKC just because I feel like now they can't match the depth, but I do think they can match the physicality. So if I'm looking at plus 270 right now, and Raheem, if you think this is going to go 7, it may be worth plus 270 on Minnesota to come out of the West.
So that is interesting. So you have to win that bet over 27% of the time in order to be profitable. So you have to ask yourself, what is going to be a series price if they play Oklahoma City?
What do you think it'll be?
I haven't run my model on this yet, so you kind of put me on the spot. But, gut feel, I'm not crazy about it.
I love it. I mean, I don't trust Oklahoma City. as far as Jalen Williams can brick another three. And, at some point, you can't just keep saying to yourself, well, he'll break out eventually. I don't know how much more of a sample size we need to see from him. He isn't breaking out. He is who he is in these playoffs. And I think this Minnesota team, we have barely scratched the surface. We've seen maybe like 1.5 good games out of Minnesota. Game 1 against the Lakers, to me, was the best representation of what this Minnesota team can bring to the table. And Edwards didn't even have a great game. He shot like 8 for 24 from the field in that Game 1 against the Lakers. But those role guys, Naz Reid, McDaniels, those guys stepping up. We saw Gobert go crazy with the double-double. He has that. That's a potential place for Minnesota to go. I just think the playoff chops of Minnesota, them going to the Western Conference Finals last year, losing the way that they did to Dallas, that to me, you can't put a price on how valuable that experience is going up against this Oklahoma City team who's like, we're trying to figure out whether or not we can run Denver off the floor. Buddy, we're in Game 4. You better be running them off the floor. You have the bodies. You have the youth. Go do it. Get them. Go run them off the floor. So I like the price. I like it, Barrett. I'm on this Minnesota team.
So I just ran my model. I actually have Minnesota like 28% versus Oklahoma City. So I just think it's kind of like priced in right now. But one thing I want to say is that if Jalen Williams can't start making these open threes, I know there's a lot of talk about Giannis to OKC. I want to see Devin Booker in OKC because I think he's a guy who could get them over the top if they can't get over the hump this year.
Yeah, take a lot of pressure off Shea, too, to be able to have a guy that can play make as well. All right, when we come back, the Cleveland Cavaliers did their best impression of the Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague, Al Horford Hawks or the DeMar DeRozan Raptors, just complete frauds. And are the Indiana Pacers actually legitimate title contenders? We'll get to that next here on East Coast Bias. Welcome back into East Coast Bias. So we got an awesome game, OKC and Denver, and then getting ready, getting settled in. Cavs, Pacers, are the Cavs going to get back into this and make it a series? And the Indiana Pacers put up, 80 points in the first half. The most interesting part of that game was the whole back and forth with Mathurin and DeAndre Hunter. Just an embarrassing performance by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Raheem, not many people thought this Cleveland team coming into the postseason could possibly be fraudulent, especially after the Miami series. And I know the Heat aren't great, but they just completely took care of business and they dominated them. To me, what the Cavaliers just not showing up is maybe the biggest surprise of the postseason. What happened?
I'm still stunned by this. You're talking about a team that went 64-18, offensive rating of 121 this season. I mean, you're talking about one of the most dominant teams in the NBA this year, SRS of 8.81, second behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the manner in which they're being dismantled is it's absolutely stunning. I cut the game on, and before you know it, they were down 20, 30, and even 40 points. So it just kind of just feels like the Indiana Pacers post All-Star break, they're a complete juggernaut. Now, I don't want to overreact because when you look at the market right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 8-point favorites in Game 5. So the market just doesn't, they don't seem to think that this series is over at all. So, it's easy to overreact to what you saw last game. Obviously, you have to check the injury status on Donovan Mitchell. But, initially after Game 4, the Indiana Pacers, they opened up minus 240 favorites to win the series. And this got bet up to minus 320. And I know that there's some sharp people in the market who probably think the Cleveland Cavaliers aren't done. I'm not one of them, but I know there's going to be people in the market who think Cleveland can come back.
Well, they can only come back if Donovan Mitchell is healthy. And the time that we're recording this, we don't have the results of the MRI, whatever happened with his ankle. But if it's an ankle that kept him out of half of a game, there are two ways to look at this. The glass half full would be that Cleveland conceded the game. Now, they're not in a position to be conceding any game, so that isn't really a theory that holds much water to keep this thing going. Glass half empty is the man's hurt, and it's an ankle, and ankles don't bounce back. You don't get over an ankle in 36 hours. So the challenge for Cleveland this series, they can't score. I mean, the 39 points in the first half, 14 turnovers. What are they doing? 14 turnovers in the first half at home in the most crucial game of the entire series, and honestly, the most crucial game for this franchise since LeBron was there. And all they can do is come out and throw the ball all over the ballpark. What are we doing out here? This isn't middle school. Yes, if you want to be gracious about it, the injuries on the Cleveland side, especially with Garland, and Garland's not all the way back, and he did not have an efficient shooting night on Sunday. But that doesn't explain their inability to match up physically, defensively. If you want to say that Hunter is still dinged, if you want to say that Mobley is still dinged, okay, they're dinged by the moment. Get up. The moment is right now. It was game 4. They're not coming back in this series. They need a miracle in terms of the health situation with those guys. And I don't see that coming down the pike. And the number 7.5, it's like, what are we just out here playing games without any evidence of what's happened from game to game to game? I will take the Pacers plus the 7.5. Thank you very much, Brian Barrett.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And the Mitchell thing, to me, I'm skeptical of the ankle diagnosis, because if you see the video, it doesn't really look like an ankle. And this is somebody that has dealt with calf things throughout the years. I mean, last year, remember, he goes down in the playoffs. He hasn't been the most durable guy. And as it pertains to Garland, I agree with you, House. He hasn't looked the same. And I just feel like he made such dumb comments about the Heat targeting Tyler Hero, where just our game plan is looking at Tyler Hero. It's like, dude, you're the same guy that the Celtics went after last year. Like, I understand what the game plan was, but probably shouldn't say it when you're going to get targeted throughout this playoff run. But the other component to me about this is just, you look at Miles Turner being the best big man in this series, and I know Evan Mobley had to miss a game with the ankle, but 20 in that game, he's now 17.8, 7.3 boards, 2.5 blocks, 57.1% on threes. He's been awesome. Nesmith is now 12 of 22 from 3 in this series. So Indiana is just, and maybe part of it is just because they had that slow start. Raheem mentioned, basically, I mean, since the new year, they've been one of the best teams in the league. It just, maybe some of their role players get underrated. Like, somehow Nembhard is a significantly better playoff player than he is a regular season player, which is a good thing to have if you're an Indiana team that has all this depth. And with Cleveland, we've been raving about the depth, and Ty Jerome has not been great in this series, right? Their role players have not been in the same spot. And when I look at sort of Indiana going forward here, I'm thinking, well, this is the team that, from a Celtics perspective last year, gave them, even though they swept them and the Celtics lost in all the rest of the series, that was their toughest series. And it wasn't a great offensive rating, but it was by far the best offensive rating they had against any other team. And think about this. The one game Cleveland trips them up, it's because they come out with this like 1-2-2 zone where they put Evan Mobley at the top of it. How long did it take the Pacers to figure that out? One game. They said, oh, all we have to do is screen this, and then one of your best rebounders is at the top of the key. It was just such a quick adjustment for that Indiana team. Like, I really feel like Indiana had been underrated entering the postseason. And look, if they can wrap this thing up and win this game on, Tuesday night, they're in I don't want to say the driver's seat, but they're in a really good position, because say Boston comes out of that series against New York, they're coming in there with a bunch of guys that are banged up. We don't know what the heck's going to happen with Porzingis. I quite frankly think that they should be resting him more at this particular point in time. But Raheem, that's an Indiana team that, looking at the scope of things now, I think you got to take them seriously.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, with the way they're playing since the All-Star break, the way they're dismantling this Cavs team, you definitely have to take them serious. And then last year, that was probably one of the closest 4-game sweeps that I've ever seen in the NBA postseason. So I think they are a force to be reckoned with. But
I think Raheem, I think it actually was. I think it literally was the closest sweep ever. Yeah.
Interesting. One thing I want to say, though, because, House mentioned betting the Indiana Pacers. If you're going to bet the Indiana Pacers, bet them right now, because if there's some negative news about Donovan Mitchell, this line is going to go down. So you don't want to hesitate on that. You want to jump on that and get in and out.
Yeah, and House, one more thing on this. So say it ends the way we think it's going to end, which is Indiana wins this series. Cleveland had this unbelievable regular season where they won 60 plus games. But if you remember the narrative prior to the season, it's, hey, can you keep Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland? Can you keep Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen? And we haven't talked about that all season long because they've been a juggernaut, right? They've been the second most dominant team in the NBA this season. Are those questions going to be coming back up? And does it make sense to move on from one of those core four guys? Or you just say, hey, we had bad injury luck with Garland. We had bad injury luck with Evan Mobley in that game 3. And now we have bad injury luck with Donovan Mitchell. We just run this back and try it again.
I would lean more in the direction of running it back because of the bad injury luck. But if something occurs, if somebody wants to make you an offer and you can do something strategic with one of those 4 players, I think you do it. Again, with this Cleveland team, even though you have some guys that have genuine playoff chops, especially Donovan Mitchell, obviously, I think as a unit, they're still like kind of finding themselves, and they were put in the unexpected position of having to give all of these minutes to guys like Ty Jerome. Max Strus has been there, and he's fairly reliable, but DeAndre Hunter, how many high leverage games has that dude been in? So like there are important elements to the Cleveland team, to me, that need this experience, this seasoning. Like, guys, you're getting punched in the face. How are you going to respond to that? I think it's reasonable for the Cavaliers to think about, on the margins, a little bit of additional help offensively. I'm not really that worried about them defensively. I think, this is an element of, the mixing and matching of personnel, because Darius Garland, he was supposed to play in game 1 of this series. And they've had to adjust on the fly. They haven't been very good at it. And so this is why they are where they are now. But I don't think there's a big overhaul that Cleveland needs to consider, Dream.
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. When you lose in the manner that you lose, they're losing right now, I do think you have to really think about things going forward. And this is the NBA. And, Brian Barrett knows how things work. We got the new CBA. Boston is going to have to make some big changes. Win or lose, this is probably their last run. We've heard Shams actually come out and say that the Celtics are probably going to be – NBA teams are bracing for the Celtics to make some big moves. And you look at the fact that Giannis is on the market. You look at the fact that KD is on the market. You look at the fact that Devin Booker could be on the market. You lose like this, you might have to explore getting one of those guys. And you have a lot of pieces. They have a lot of depth. They got Darius Garland. They got, guys like Evan Mobley. They got Hunter. They have a lot of pieces that they could, make moves and try to improve. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it makes sense. And Raheem, if I hear the word apron over the summer, I'm just going to start burning an apron every time I hear about it, because the second apron stuff, it just completely take it over the NBA, where we're talking about it feels like every other day in the discourse, unfortunately, and it's going to affect my Celtics. All right, when we come back, we'll get you our best bets right here on East Coast Bias. Welcome back into East Coast Bias, and of course the NBA Draft Lottery on Monday night as well. Brian Barrett in for JJ with Raheem and House as always. And House, you had a vested interest in this one. Washington did not come out with the pick that they were looking for, but you know who did? You know who was ahead of everybody in this whole thing? Nico Harrison. He knew the whole time trading Luka was going to get him Cooper Flag.
Well, he knew the whole time because Adam Silver told him, hey, it's okay. Go ahead and trade Luka to the Lakers. We're going to fix. There's poor viewership in the league. There's a lack of interest in the league. We need to shake things up. Let's produce, this incredible drama. And don't worry, the true crime of the trade of Luka, and all Mavs fans will attest to it, was the fact that he didn't shop it, that it was a no-bid trade. He went to one dude in one coffee shop and made a mob deal. And this is how the mob works. You know what I mean? You go to the Godfather and you say Godfather, and lo and behold, it's a miracle, another NBA miracle. Dream, how many NBA miracles have we had in the last 15, 20 years with these draft outcomes that just seem, the odds are incredible, but somehow the team that needs to be rewarded for its sacrifice finds its way to the top of the draft.
It seems like the theme of the NBA right now is that it's a Disney movie. I mean, you could have the Knicks versus the Wolves. I mean, you look at the LeBron James, he leaves the Cleveland Cavaliers, and all of a sudden they win the lottery 3 times. We should just bet the narrative. We got to find out whatever the popular narrative is and just bet it.
Or the unpopular narrative, Brian Barrett. I mean, I think Dallas was like 40-1 to come out on top of the draft lottery here. And, back in March, there's a clip of Bill Simmons saying the funniest thing. It was in the context of the worst contracts in the NBA. And Nico Harrison's contract was in the conversation. And Simmons said the funniest thing that would happen is the Dallas Mavericks getting Cooper Flag. And here we are. We missed the opportunity to bet it, fellas. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Like, what a weird year for an organization, or a weird 8 months, right? They play in the NBA Finals. They trade away their most beloved superstar since Dirk. And now they end up with an unbelievable prospect in Cooper Flag. Unless, by the way, he does something crazy again. Because in some places you can see right now, the Mavericks plus 2,500 for Giannis's next team. And Giannis, of course, on Monday not requested, but he's considering, I don't know the exact wording, but he's considering other options. Could Nico do something even crazier? Now, I don't think you should, but we can't rule anything out with this guy. Raheem, he traded Luka. We can't rule it out.
Yeah, we truly can't rule it out, but I think ownership would shut him down if he tried to trade Cooper Flag for Giannis or tried to trade him for Devin Booker. Or I just think at this point in time, the fans have had too much pain. I think the NBA wouldn't allow him to do that.
Yeah, the NBA would step. That's where they draw the line. That's where the league is fine. Oh, you want to do take a generational talent and ruin, the goodwill that's built up?
You can ruin the Mavericks if you make the Lakers relevant for the next 15 years.
Fair enough. I mean, we watched what happened with New Orleans. Same thing. As long as it helps. Same thing happened in Memphis. Pau Gasol. I'll never forgive that trade. Chris, what's his face? The GM for the Grizzlies. Nobody knew that Pau Gasol was available. And next thing you know, he's on the Lakers. Congratulations, Kobe. Two titles delivered by Chris. I can't remember his name. Anyway,
it is funny though to me, like a team like the Spurs that now has the second pick. Should they have traded all that stuff for De'Aaron Fox? Like, Dylan Harper right now is minus 2,400 to be the second pick, and he's a point guard. So it's not like they gave up a ton for De'Aaron Fox.
I love some Dylan Harper. That guy's good. I think whoever gets him, they might get one of the best players in the draft. I love some Dylan Harper, and he's better than Ace Bailey.
I'll tell you what, Brian Barrett, I was on, I had the good benefit of being on with J. Kyle Mann, talking some, draft ins and outs, where potential guys might go and what the fit might look like. And J. Kyle Mann was kind of bullish on the idea of Harper playing alongside De'Aaron Fox. He thought that they could cohabitate because Fox he doesn't need to be ball dominant. And that Harper can be, go ahead and set things up. And it'd be good for the development of Harper to have De'Aaron Fox alongside. And he made a interesting case. I was a little skeptical of it. It felt redundant to me as well. And there are pieces here in the San Antonio situation that seem like they could be appealing to Milwaukee for, its own, the rebuild that Milwaukee might undertake if Giannis wanted to, go take a lap in that international pool that San Antonio has built up over there.
Yeah, and they got the picks to be able to do it, and they got young players if they want to trade some of those, and that's about, I see it now around plus 1,200 for the Spurs to be Giannis's next team, so that may be worth an investment as well. All right, when we come back, we'll get into The other big series, or I should say the only big series left in the West, OKC and Denver. We'll do that next on East Coast Bias. Welcome back into East Coast Bias. Brian Barrett in for JJ, John Jastrzemski, Raheem, and House are here as well. All right, guys, best bets as we get ready for maybe some of these seasons to be over for a couple of these teams. I know it's a big number right now, but I do like Indiana to cover that 7.5 against Cleveland. Cleveland dealing with a lot of stuff injury-wise, and you're down 3-1. I know Darius Garland referenced, hey, this organization has come back before. LeBron James, as my buddy Rick Pitino would say, LeBron James isn't walking through that door. Kyrie Irving isn't walking through that door. I think Indiana is going to steamroll Cleveland in this game coming up on Tuesday night.
Well, Brian Barrett, I'm going to go ahead and join you on this. I'm playing the Indiana Pacers money line. I couldn't get it out because I'm so excited for it. Plus 240 as we sit here right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. That can move over the course of whatever information comes out about Donovan Mitchell. I don't care. As long as the Pacers are underdogs, I'm playing them on the money line. This series is over. It's 1-2-3 Cancun for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
All right, I mentioned the SGA potential assist. We're going to ride with it. SGA over 6.5 assists. And this is way too low. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they are at home. He's had 8 assists in game 1, 8 assists in game 2, 7 assists in game 3, 6 in the last game, over 6.5. I know it's a little bit of juice here, but we're going to lay SGA over 6.5 assists. I think this is correlated with the Oklahoma City Thunder win. I also think this is correlated with the over. At some point, they got to shoot better. I mean, somebody. I mean, look, y'all look like me out there.
Yeah, and I think, House, I'm going to join you just on the money line because plus 7.5, I think the Pacers are going to win. So I'm going to join you on the money line on that one. I like that too, Raheem, with Shea. And plus, role players at home, man. They're going to shoot better in OKC, right?
And I mean, if they put Cason Wallace in there and he's a playoff shooter like we think he is, I think this is going over. So we're going to see what happens.
All right. Well, that'll do it here for East Coast Bias. Thanks to House. Thanks to Raheem. Thanks to Steph. Thanks to Tucker. And we'll talk to you guys again soon.